I just found out that my husband of 10 years has never loved me. My whole world is crashing right now. I never thought that this could happen to me. I am deeply in love with my husband, and I thought he loved me too. My husband Sam and I met after college at a book club. We fell in love and married a year later right out of college. I honestly thought that my life was a dream come true. He was kind and silly, and he made me feel loved. I found out last week that my husband never loved me. I overheard Sam talking to his friend on FaceTime when he thought I couldn't hear. His friend was congratulating Sam on bagging me because I'm loaded. That's not true. Though I make a decent living and my parents recently had some success in their business abroad, I don't make nearly enough to be considered wealthy, perhaps upper middle class at best. It's not like I can quit my job tomorrow and be set for life. I'm a financial analyst and make $300K working 70 hours a week. Sam is a customer service advisor for a bank and makes $50K working 35 hours a week. Edit. By the way, yes, I was in investment banking out of college. Sam has had this job for 4 months. He has a spotty work history due to not getting along with his bosses. Anyway, Sam then added that all his planning paid off and he'd lived the easy life. His friend added that he couldn't imagine being married to me, waking up to my face. I've never been very attractive. I'm very skinny and have a thin face and a wide nose. But Sam made me feel like the most beautiful woman in the world. Sam just laughed and said, "It's easy when you have the mindset," and I pretended I didn't hear and went back upstairs and just lied in bed. I've been sleeping on the couch with the excuse of working late and not disturbing him. Every time I've woken up in our bed with him cuddling me, I don't feel loved. I feel used. I don't know what to do. Then in the comments section, one user asked OP if she had a prenup with her husband and said, "We do not have a prenup. I regret it." Then OP elaborated on why their earnings are not enough to live comfortably in their area. "I know it's far more than most Americans, but it's not enough for someone to lie for 10 years about it. He could have found anyone else. It's definitely not enough to be truly wealthy, just comfortable. If he wanted to bag someone, could he have not found someone else? He didn't have to lie to me and say he loved me. It is comfortable, just not wealthy. When I think of wealthy, I think of people who don't have to work for a living. Also, I have a serious medical condition that costs a lot of money, partially exacerbated by my work life. I used to work 80 to 100 hours a week. Plus, I had been paying off my husband's student loans of $80,000, as well as our mortgage. I did not have student loans because I thankfully earned a scholarship. I grew up in poverty on food stamps, and I'm terrified of going back to that life. Also, I did pay off his credit card debt too. Then OP responded to multiple Redditors telling her to divorce her husband as he was using her and said, "I have honestly resigned myself to a life alone if I do divorce my husband. No one has expressed any interest in me. The only time I was asked out was as a joke. I had a friend in college who shared my interests and my hobbies and was fun. I was in love with him. I was short and very skinny, and he was my height and quite chunky, and we had a nickname based on that. When our friends said that we looked like a couple, he would make gagging noises and say it's disgusting, but in a joking way. When I got the courage to ask him out, he laughed himself sick." Edit. I am unattractive and have serious health conditions. I am statistically unlikely to find another husband. It's alright though. I'd rather be alone than with someone who doesn't love me. Then OP elaborated on how she got a job at 19 and how she's earning so much and said, "I graduated at 19 and had a very well-paying job to the tune of 6 figures. I grew up in poverty on food stamps, so this was a dream for me. My parents only very recently had success with their businesses back in their home country. We are immigrants." Sam was kind of broke because of bad financial habits. He had been financially cut off from his parents who were middle class. He had $80,000 of student loans, I've paid off over half, and $20,000 of credit card debt, which I've also paid off. Then OP provided an example when she overheard her husband's conversation with his friend. Sam and his friend were talking about an upcoming trip to Prague that we were going to book. I was paying for it. That was what sparked the whole conversation on bagging a free ride. He laughed when his friend said those hurtful but accurate things about my appearance. His friend made more comments on how Sam couldn't stand to wake up to me. I was also hurt because his friend had always been very nice to me before. It would have been nice if Sam said he stayed with me for something other than my salary. For him, I'm apparently an easy grift. You're probably right. My husband insists that the conversation never happened. He never said anything, and that I was hallucinating due to stress. I felt hurt because I thought that the friend was a nice person. He had been quite kind and welcoming before. Though I am not attractive, there was no need to insult me like that if I heard correctly. They were talking about our upcoming trip to Czechia in 2023, which I am paying for. That was how the conversation started. Update. Last night I came home late and my husband was waiting for me. He had been blowing up my phone for the entire day, spamming me with accusations, but not untrue messages. The conversation did not go well. He accused me of avoiding him, which was true. I just couldn't look at him. I used work as an excuse. He said I was withholding affection from him. He also started accusing me of being unfaithful to him, which was never true. I have a new coworker who just started approximately 2 weeks ago, and Sam was convinced I was having an affair with him. I told him I didn't even know that coworker. How could I have had an affair? I finally told him what I overheard and how hurt I was. His response was to deny ever having that conversation and deny ever saying anything. He told me I probably misheard something or hallucinated due to stress. I received several very helpful messages about a post my husband might have made, though some of the details don't match up. Most of it do. Our salaries, the time we've been married, the couch thing. And I asked him if he wrote the Reddit post. He told me he doesn't do Reddit, but didn't outright deny making the post, and asked me what I was doing on my phone all day for the past few days, which was reading all your messages on this throwaway account. I told him that, and he looked incredibly upset. I told him that what he did really hurt me, and he still insisted it never happened. I asked him if he ever loved me, and he said, "Don't be stupid, of course I do. You're the one cheating on me." I told him I never cheated on him. It felt like the conversation was just going in circles. I brought up the possibility of a postnup, and he scoffed and said he didn't want a divorce. If I tried to divorce him, he had a right to a lot of alimony. That part is true. Our state has strong alimony rights for spouses with salary differences. He only had his job for a few months, and it's the highest paying one he's ever had. Then he said, "Who's going to take care of you when you're sick if you try to divorce me?" I asked him if he ever lied to me or hid things from me, and eventually he admitted that the way we met wasn't an accident. He knew who I was, that I would be there, and pretended to stumble into me as an excuse to make conversation. I demanded counseling as a first step, and to my surprise, he agreed. At this point, I was getting a splitting headache, not a migraine, which I also often get. I went to bed, and he gave me a glass of water and medicine, and we just didn't bring it up. I took today off work because I feel burnt out. I don't feel like anything is resolved. Now I doubt myself and everything I heard. If I truly didn't hear that, then I blew up my marriage for nothing. If he did say that and he's capable of lying for 10 years, then why would I stay with him? At least we're getting marriage counseling and therapy for myself. Update number 2. I've been waffling between writing this post and not, since I think my husband has been reading my posts. I've already deleted it twice, but he thinks Reddit is a waste of time, and the outpouring emotional support I get here outweighs him reading this thread. We've had a few short but devastating conversations since then. Based on Reddit advice, I tried to get evidence that he was with me for my money. After my husband reluctantly admitted that we didn't meet on accident, I pushed and found out the reason he pursued me, and it is because I'm stable and I would do everything for him and never leave him, according to him. His birth mother left when he was young, leaving his family very poor until his grandfather died. I feel sorry for him and understand why he did this, but there's a small selfish part of me that wonders why he chose me for this life. I thought I recorded him, but nothing shows up on my phone. It doesn't matter since we are in all-party consent state. Sometimes I wonder if I was blind. Sam is far more attractive than me. Though my preferences tend to lie towards the unconventional, I should have realized he is not attracted to me and that it was one-sided love. I am not beautiful compared to other women, and when I try to wear makeup or fashionable clothes, I can tell he is not impressed. I thought it was because he liked me better natural. My mother used to say a pig wearing makeup is uglier than a pig. I understand that now. That's partially the reason why I could not stand pretending everything was all right. My love language is touch. I constantly liked to hug him or hold his hand or stroke his back or pet his hair. Knowing that he only tolerates my touch horrifies me. I don't want to be the source of someone's discomfort. I am also ashamed of being so vulnerable, knowing that he hates who I am and the way I look, knowing that he has seen me in my most vulnerable moments. I don't want to be a burden. After one night where I locked myself in the bathroom and slept in the bathtub, he hasn't been moving me from the couch. I think the reason he moved me is to pretend our life hadn't changed, rather than any real concern for me. That's why he complained about me withholding affection. I went back to work and continued the routine I had done for a few weeks, working as much as possible until I had to go home. I cried a lot during work. I passed out at work one day, and when I woke up, my boss told me to go home. He was angry. I tried to drive home, but I still felt woozy, so I parked in a car and fell asleep. I was awoken by a police officer who gave me a warning for sleeping in my car. Apparently, that's a red flag for DUIs. I drove home and Sam was furious. He somehow had known that I was sent home early. He demanded to know who I was with, and I told him the truth. Sam has been sweet to me since. He hasn't taken off work and he only does about an hour of real work a day, which strangely makes me envious of my own husband. Sam has been making sure I rest, making all of our meals and doing the chores. My work has demanded that I take off at least 2 more weeks of sick leave since my episode at the office. However, they are also simultaneously making me do work and implied that my performance bonus will be impacted by my stunt. If I divorce my husband, the consequences will be beyond me losing the love of my life. My parents will cut me off from our family. They will not let me see my grandparents ever, who are in very delicate health. My grandparents raised me as a child when I was sent back to live with them in our home country. My family would not be surprised if Sam divorces me. My parents even told me at our wedding that he will leave me and that I should have married the man they arranged, who wanted me for my citizenship. I will not have any support. In a feverish state, I once offered to give him all of my savings and pay alimony for life if he filed for divorce, and he told me to shut up and sleep. I don't know what conditions I can set for the divorce. I'm losing my husband, I'm losing my grandparents, maybe even my job. What do I do? Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on her grandparents' views on the divorce and said, "My grandparents were in an arranged marriage. Divorce is stigmatized and they are not very open to the idea at all. They do want what is best for me, but what they think is best is likely 30 years behind the times. I am eternally grateful that they took care of me, though, and loved me, and I would be devastated if my parents cut me off from them." Then OP replied to the possibility of hallucinating her husband's comments towards her and said, "I did not hallucinate anything or have a psychotic break. Initially, my husband denied everything, including the phone call. The first thing he admitted was that we didn't meet on accident. He had known who I was somehow and pursued me. Then he admitted that he wasn't attracted to me. He also admitted that the reason he pursued me and the reason he is still married to me is that I'm stable and I would do everything for him and never leave him." Update number 3. Before marriage counseling, I found out that my husband had hid that he had borderline personality disorder. My husband Sam and I agreed to marriage counseling to see if we could save our marriage. This is an out-of-pocket expense. Before we could go to our first session, we had to fill out several forms and questionnaires. One question asked about any diagnoses we had. My husband revealed that he had been diagnosed with borderline personality disorder and relationship obsessive-compulsive disorder 2 years ago. I knew he went to a psychiatrist/neuropsychologist, but he just said they found nothing and there was nothing wrong with him. I was shocked because he never told me. When I asked why he would hide this from me, he said that it was his medical history, and I couldn't leave him for something not under his control. Sam is not in therapy, and obviously I would have supported him and gotten the help he needed. Ever since this came out, Sam has been saying that if I divorce him, I'm abandoning him, and that it would be proof that I never loved him or cared about him. That's not true. I do love him. That's why I'm doing this. If I divorce him and pay alimony, he'll find someone he's actually in love with. We'd both be happy. Sam has not given me a moment of space, but to be fair, I did have a high fever a few days ago. Sam said he wants to go back to normal life before all of this happened and we were happy, but I understand why he would want to continue living a lie. I'm offering him a way out and he refuses. Is it because of his diagnosis? How do we move forward from this? Is marriage counseling even worth it? Am I making a mistake? Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on her husband's family's background and if he came from a poor family. I think I feel hurt because my husband didn't trust me with this information, though we have been married for a decade. I would have never abandoned him and would have encouraged him to get DBT therapy or anything else that he would need help with. His birth mother left him as a child, leaving his family destitute until an inheritance from his grandfather. I think that is why he married me, because I represented stability both financially and in our home life, not love. I do love him and I do care about him deeply, but how can I tell him that I will always be there for him when we are heading for divorce? I would be lying to him. I will not be in his life. We both deserve to be with someone that we love. I'm not going to chain him to marriage because of his fear of financial instability. I'm not my father. I will pay alimony. His life will be the exact same, maybe with even more money for a cleaner and meal prep, just with the ability to find someone he loves. It's hard to talk about marriage counseling and the possibility of divorce without him breaking down. I can't bear to see him cry. Then OP made a new post titled, "Will I be the a-hole if I replaced someone's glass jar that she lent me without telling her? I bought a glass jar of homemade fruit preserves at a farmer's market. The seller, Mary, 60s F, was a nice older lady that I've bought from before. Because we know each other, she gives me a discount if I bring back the empty jar since she saves money. She gave me a fancier glass jar than usual today because she ran out of the regular ones. I can't return the jar. I found an identical jar at Target and I plan to give her that one. The reason I don't want to tell her is that she's very kind but inquisitive, and she'll ask why I didn't bring the original back. And she'll say that I didn't have to replace it, etc. I don't want her to worry." Then OP elaborated on why she could not return the jar to the seller and said, "It was destroyed. My husband threw it and shattered it. There's no way to put it back. He's a fan of fruit preserves, so I got a new flavor I thought that he would like to try. He was upset that I got him a gift, so he threw it on the ground. He was apologetic, but there's no way to put it back together. We have been going through a very rough patch. Apparently the gift was a reminder that no one will love him like I do. That was not my intention. I just thought he would like it. I can't honestly say it was an accident since my husband threw it on the ground on purpose." New update titled, "I don't feel like I deserve anything. My therapist says that's a good thing. I had my first therapy session ever on Saturday, a weekend online therapist who is licensed, and when she asked what issues I wanted to resolve, one problem I told her was that I felt like I didn't deserve anything in my life. My therapist said that it wasn't an issue, but a blessing since I can practice gratefulness. I am grateful for the smallest things, but intellectually, I feel as though I should not be grateful for them. I feel like a doormat in my personal and professional life. My work demands extremely long hours. I remember the worst week I ever had in my career was 104 hours of work. I'm exhausted, but my boss relies on me and me only, even though there are other members of the team. He says I'm his biggest asset, and I am grateful for being recognized. Yet, others have gotten promotions off the team and into more relaxed roles, and I have not. I've worked here for years, and I've only taken 11 days off for vacation the entire time. Not because I want to work, but because I'm needed. I had invasive wisdom teeth surgery on Thursday, and I got both an infection and dry socket over the weekend. We had a deal going through, and I went to work yesterday in pain with a fever because my boss demanded that I be there. I worked until 12:17 a.m. and didn't eat anything since I was in so much pain. I was supposed to Uber back to my hotel. My husband and I are discussing divorce, but I pressed the wrong destination and went back to our house instead. I fell asleep in our front yard, where my husband found me. Luckily, nothing happened to me since I live in a relatively safe area. My husband is thrilled I came home. He pleaded with me to cancel the rest of the hotel stay, and I caved in. I feel selfish for divorcing him, and I feel selfish for staying. I don't want to be like my father, using money to force someone to stay with them. I got my dry sockets treated. I needed someone to help me irrigate the holes since doing it myself caused the infection, but I don't know who to ask. No friends or family live nearby. I just haven't been eating because I don't want to get another infection. Looking at this post, I feel so much self-loathing. It's filled with aggrandizing self-pity. The price of my job is the loss of a personal life. Many people would be happy to be in my position, making as much money as I do. Many people would be thrilled to live my life and have a home to come home to and food in their stomachs. There's no reason for me to be unhappy, yet I am. And I know I should feel entitled to some things, but if my therapist says not being expectant is a good thing, then what is my problem? What is wrong with me? Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on why she thinks she doesn't deserve anything and said, "What I told my therapist was, I struggle to believe that I deserve anything. Though I feel that people in general are entitled to things like love or happiness and rest, I feel like I do not. For some reason, I feel that other people's needs are more important than my own. I'd like to gain these skills." I wrote it out. I later mentioned how I wanted to take a health day, but my coworker wanted to take the day off, so I didn't, because I felt that he deserved the day off. I wished I had the self-confidence to still ask for the day, instead of thinking of my team's needs. I'm not sure if it's an issue of gratefulness or deserving or just self-esteem. My therapist said it was a good idea that I feel like I deserve nothing because I can practice gratefulness, and that it was a blessing not to be entitled. New update titled, "Why would my husband insinuate that there is an abuse in our relationship to his friend?" My husband Sam and I have access to each other's phones, computers, emails, etc. Normally, I don't read my husband's things, though I know he sometimes checks my messages and the like. Today, he left his laptop open to his messages, and I saw my name in a message alert from his friend who does not like me. I read more of the chat. A few days ago, Sam was arguing with his father over the phone. He was angrier than usual and gesticulating. I went to get something, and when I was behind him, his fist accidentally hit my jaw. He apologized immediately, and it was fine. I've had a couple of minor surgeries unrelated to this incident, so I don't look great. I can see why someone would be concerned. My new friends and my therapist were very concerned too when they saw me, but when I explained, they understood. Sam's friend saw me yesterday for a minute. In the chat, he asked Sam why I had a messed up face, and Sam said it was fine and not to interfere in our marriage. The friend was telling Sam that he should leave me, and it was all right if we divorced because there were a lot of women who wanted him. The last message said, "You can't hit your wife because she wants a divorce. Take the check and go." Throughout the entire conversation, Sam never told his friend it was an accident. He just said that I was his wife and it was not his friend's business. I feel awful for violating his privacy, and I will tell him, but I'm also confused why he would say this and not clarify the accident. Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on why she is not divorced yet and said, "I don't know. I'm just deeply exhausted by it all. Separating, disentangling finances, surgeries, regressions, breaking from my job, stress. It was all overwhelming. My wonderful therapist has told me to break down my problems into simple steps, and if I'm too exhausted to act, to just let it be for now and gather up my strength for the next thing. I just had an abdominal hysterectomy, and right now recovery is my next hurdle. I'm in pain, but I'm hopeful. My husband has been doing everything around the house. I can't lift most things, and it hurts to be active. He works, he cleans, he has learned to cook some surprisingly complex meals that I like. He irrigates my sockets because they haven't fully healed, and I can't see them properly. That was how I got an infection. He helps me shower too. While he does things like this, it makes me feel guilty for wanting to divorce him. It makes me think he blames himself for accidents like in the post. That he does love me. But then I remember the fact that he doesn't have any photos of me on his phone, and that he admitted he didn't love me at first, and other silly things. And I just wonder why we can't live apart happily. Then OP elaborated if Sam's friend mentioned in the post is the same friend who was on FaceTime with her husband and said, "Yes, it is the same friend. My husband has a circle of childhood friends. I know a few of them dislike me. One of them has told me that she wished my husband had married a mutual friend of theirs instead of me. I do feel like an intruder in their friendship circle. I'm happy to say that now that I'm on leave for work and unlikely to return, my coworkers have grown into close friends. It makes me kind of sad that I chose to work from home a lot, missing out on the closeness that they have demonstrated. We did start marriage counseling, by the way. Our marriage counselor is wonderful and is also my therapist. My husband has started DBT therapy, but he hates it. Our counselor says one of our root problems is the way we define ourselves. I see myself for what I can provide people. I am a hard worker. I am efficient. I cook. I clean. I can do this or that, rather than what I am intrinsically. My husband defines himself on what he loves and hates, his interests and disinterests. New post. Am I the a-hole for doing things by myself at an amusement park? Last weekend, my 32F husband, 32M Sam, and a few of his friends and spouses arranged to go to an amusement park. I am not a huge fan of loud, hot, crowded places. I find it overwhelming. Moreover, I could not go on the thrill rides as I recently had surgery and I have very high blood pressure. Sam convinced me to go connect with his friends. When we came, their itinerary was a tight schedule of all thrill rides. The first ride was a roller coaster. I was in line as a placeholder for a person. One friend, Jake, collected everyone's phones and put it in his bag. I tried to tell him I couldn't go on the ride, but it seems I was unclear. I didn't want to make a fuss for this one ride, so I gave him my phone. When the person returned, I got out of line and waited at one of the two exits as they would meet me there. After waiting for 40 minutes, I realized that they must have gone to the other exit and left without me. I checked the other nearby rides, but I couldn't find them. I went to a first aid station, and I called my phone and then my husband, but he didn't pick up. At first, I tried to stay in the area, but it was high traffic, loud, and very hot. I still had my pass and cash with me. I found a quieter, shaded area, bought lunch, met a very nice elderly couple who showed me a few spots, won a plushie and a blanket from a vending machine, and had dinner. I had fun. There was an announcement that the park would close in half an hour. I decided I would go to our parked car to wait for the group. 30 minutes later, one of Sam's friends, Nancy, found me next to the car and dragged me to the others. They were furious because they had been frantically looking for me for the last half an hour. Update. There was not much of an update. Sam and I talked about it at home and in our marriage counseling and came to some sort of understanding. I feel I was less than charitable to him, likely because I felt hurt that he left me. This is how the day went. Jake gathered everyone's loose items, including phones, wallets, hats, etc., in his bag and then put it into a locker. I made a mistake and put my phone in his bag since I didn't want to hold them up. A bit later, I crossed over the exit line, walked down, and waited at the exit. They were supposed to meet me there. My husband's group got split. Sam rode in the second half and heard from his friend that the first group didn't want to do another thrill ride. They slipped back to the entrance with the lockers instead of going to the exit. When I wasn't at the lockers, he thought I left with the first group without waiting for him. He was hurt and decided not to contact me until I contacted him. He thought if I loved him, I would contact him. Meanwhile, I was waiting at the exit. I realized that Sam had already left when I saw the same people exit twice, meaning they rode the roller coaster, waited in line again, and rode it again. This was approximately 40 minutes after the 25 wait time that the line stated. I went to the first aid station and called him. I made a mistake. I forgot he doesn't respond/call back to unknown numbers because of scams. Sam's friends got back together and split throughout the day. He was upset when I wasn't with any group because he thought I left them too and I hadn't tried to contact him. When the park announced the closing, he was worried. He and his friends called my phone. They dug through Jake's backpack and saw that my phone was there and it was dead. Sam found out that no one had seen me since the first ride. He called back the unknown number and it was the first aid station who confirmed I was there. Our marriage counselor said I was passive and lacked boundaries. I should have said no to the entire idea. I agree with her. I'm working on me with my therapist. She said that Sam was so willing to believe I left him and his desire to test if I still loved him that he left me in a dangerous situation. His therapist said that he defines himself by the love I give him, which is unhealthy. Sam apologized the entire time. He feels guilty. He mopes around the house. I gave him the plushie I won and it only made him happy for a few minutes. I think it made it worse. He constantly checks my hand to see if I am still wearing my rings. Then in the comments section, OP responds on several questions regarding waiting for her husband and his friends. Giving up my phone was my fault. I agree. Jake told me to put my phones in his bag. I told him I wasn't going on this ride, but I don't think I made it clear to him. He told me to put my phone in again, and there were others with their phones out waiting to put theirs in, so I put mine in to not create a fuss. I thought that since we agreed to meet up at the exit, it would be fine if I didn't have my phone. Unfortunately, my phone was on mute as well. I should not have done so. We arrived there in the morning. There are long lines for the most anticipated thrill rides. I only just had an abdominal hysterectomy, so while I can't lift heavy things or walk a lot, I'm mostly fine. By the way, the surgery was almost 2 weeks ago. I can't blame my husband too much. He was excited to be with his friends. Almost always, I'm not there when he is with them, so I can see how he genuinely forgot I was there at the start. This was supposed to be a way for me to bond with his friends, since his therapist says that he puts barriers between certain aspects of his life, but it fell by the wayside since I can't actually go on most of the rides that they planned. They were searching in the park for me. I suppose they could have made an announcement. When my husband called the number I used back, it was the general first aid center in the park, which apparently made them think I could have been sick. They just genuinely forgot I was there. It was a large group that frequently hangs out together, and I don't go on these sort of outings, so it makes sense. Yes, I feel bad because they did seem worried and angry. 30 minutes is a long time to be looking for someone in a big park. They didn't sign up to form a search and rescue, just have fun in the park. My husband was having fun with his friends. He tracks my phone location, so I assume he wasn't concerned until they realized I didn't have my phone, and there was no way to track me down. Update. Due to my poor personal choices, my wound opened back up, and plus I got a horrible infection. I had to get another surgery 2.5 weeks after my initial one to fix the damage I caused. It's been several weeks, but I'm still in a lot of pain. And finally, OP elaborated on if she has finally divorced her husband and having her family taking care of her and said, I am all right. I got a postnup. My grandmother got very sick, so I went back alone to my home country. An unofficial separation. She didn't make it. I still feel like my heart has been ripped out. I was in both physical and emotional pain. My husband had a severe breakdown and was hospitalized because I wasn't there. His family and friends begged me to come back, so I did. I couldn't go back to work, so I stay at home. He takes care of me. I don't even know what to say in this story. What do you tackle? Where do you start from? How do you define this relationship? What is happening here? There are so many factors at play here that if you address one, you go down the rabbit hole and then we'll address 12 others and then go down those rabbit holes. What is this story? What is this relationship? I don't have any coherent thoughts. My mind this whole time was just angry and confused and was like, well, that's total BS, and just disappointed and sad. I don't have anything. I don't have any jokes. I'm just broken right now. What the flying mother... Oh my god. If you guys have anything to say on this story, feel free to type out a comment, 1,000 characters or less, 15 consecutive tweets, 3 essays, because... I have never felt this way about a story. I really don't know what to tackle to address, so I'm just gonna take us to the next one. Next story. Story number 2. I know that my husband is cheating on me with my best friend, but if I left, he will take half. I am a 40-year-old mother of a baby girl who is 5. I have been married to my husband for 12 years. About 10 years ago, I started my business and it is my pride and joy. I love my life and I enjoy my work. 2 years ago, I lost my beautiful mother to breast cancer. It all happened in 5 weeks and she was so young, 55 years old. It sent me into shock and depression. A while before that, my best friend found out that her husband cheated and he left her for his mistress. It was a hard time and my best friend and I became even closer than ever before. She moved in with me for a while after my mother passed away because I wasn't really functioning and she was homeless. I started with antidepressants that killed my sexual needs. I felt guilty for my husband, but I really couldn't do anything but try to be healthy again as soon as possible. My best friend lived with us for 1 year, and they started sleeping together towards the end of that year. That's when I got home early, and I heard them. I ran out in shock. I came back a few hours later pretending nothing happened. I managed to smoothly find her a place because I couldn't bear it happening in my home, my sanctuary, my place where I live with my daughter. My best friend had already found herself a job, and I took the opportunity to find her the apartment near her job. She was grateful. I was a bit more relieved. The affair is still going on. If I leave, he will take half. It will ruin me and my business, and what I am trying to build for me and my baby. No, I don't want to leave. It is so unfair that he is the one cheating, and I am the one who will pay if I said anything. I refuse, so I am letting it happen. Instead, I wrote him off as my companion and my safety blanket. I still have lots to be grateful for though. My baby, my family, and my beautiful home, and my business. Most of the time, I am content and happy, even though I myself don't know how I am doing it. Maybe it is numbness or resignation, or maybe it is true contentment. But sometimes, when everything is 100 times magnified, I can barely contain my panic, especially at night when he wakes me up because I am crying. Again, are you having a nightmare? And he tries to kiss and cuddle me to make me feel safe. I'm here, you're safe, he says. I wish I could tell him that my nightmares are my escape from my reality with him, and that his shoulders aren't safe. He rarely asks why I am crying. He probably thinks it is mom, because that's what I tell him. But sometimes I feel like he knows, or that he can't help himself, wondering, what's going on behind those eyes? What do you mean? I can't read your face anymore. I see you silent again. When I look at him, he immediately looks away, like he is scared he would turn into stone, and says, I miss you, that's all. My panic has increased more these past few months, since he started paying me attention again. The first period after mom's passing, he never bothered me out of courtesy, I suppose. Never asked for intimacy. Then he had her, so he didn't need me. But now, I don't know what changed. They are still together, so what does he want from me? Is he testing me? I never understood why they are doing what they're doing either. I've seen their text messages. There's no love, no respect, no warmth. Not what I would expect from two people who are sleeping together, especially not when the stakes are so high. You would think that they love each other so much since they're willing to pay the price in case they're caught. But no, there's lots of anger, fighting, and resentment, a lot of guilt and self-hatred. He calls himself and her disgusting and shells of a human being. Is that too some sort of love? I don't know why I am writing here. I googled about infidelity and self-help and I ended up in this community, and I read tens of similar stories. Maybe I would feel better writing my own down. Please don't think too ill of me. I know that I am pathetic, but I used to have more dignity. Then OP provided more information on speaking with a lawyer regarding her assets and said, I have already spoken to a lawyer. I contacted one half an hour after I heard them in my bed. I have discussed many options during the months, and none gives me full control of my life and company. One was a postnuptial agreement, of course, but why would he just sign one? We discussed maybe I confessed to him that I know about them, hoping that he would want to do anything to save the marriage, including a postnup. But this is leaving too much to chance, into someone who could easily cheat on me. But also, it doesn't feel right to lure him into signing something, then go ahead with divorce anyway. I can't be this malicious. My other option is one of my family members buy in, my dad or brother for example, like 10%. It would leave me with majority in case of divorce and I could buy him out eventually. But again, I leave much to chance and no control over the outcome. Maybe I am not looking forward to seeing my husband's real face, which I believe I will when I ask for divorce. If he did this to me when he pretended to love me, then how will he act when he doesn't need to pretend anymore? Do I want my baby to see her parents at their worst this early? Not sure. Maybe I'm just obsessing as usual. Then in the comments section, one user said, "OP, I am so sorry. My heart breaks for you. Is there any way you can legally make plans to do something with your assets, business, etc.? While things are amicable, I think it's best to take steps to protect your daughter and the business. I hate to make you think about it, but what if he leaves and you have to do this anyways? Wouldn't you rather be prepared and ready to take on the new adventure that life takes you? Best wishes, sending love." I've spoken to an attorney about all my options, and even my best options aren't good enough right now. My only hope is that it comes to a point where I could buy him out when we divorce. It won't happen in a few years. Also, regarding on if my husband is entitled to half of my business, actually, he didn't believe in my idea, so he didn't want to help because he was scared that I would lose money. I started with loans and with government assistance for young female entrepreneurs with low interest, so no, he didn't help with anything. Still though, he is entitled to half after divorce. Update. Hi everyone, thank you for the support and the many suggestions. I promise I will make this update very short and simple. I have taken 2 measures to protect myself and my daughter when my husband and I get a divorce to protect my assets and my daughter's future. I am sure many will find my methods to be dubious, and honestly, it is fine with me. All's fair in love and war, and this is a bit of both. I told my father everything. He was horrified but a bit relieved that he finally found out what's been hurting me. We have discussed the possibility that he could buy into my business in case I need to divide, so he and I can have the bigger share and still can make the decisions. Then I have agreed to my husband's suggestion of seeing a marriage counselor. He talked about my mom's passing and how it affected me and my mentality. He kept talking to me about building walls and being distant, and how he was longing for me to come back to him. I just wondered while he talked what he would do if I told him that I knew. Would he still complain about my walls or finally understand them? I opened up about my mom's illness and how it affected me. Not only the losing her part, but the fact that my grandmother and great-grandmother passed the same way. It kept me thinking that maybe I have inherited this and passed it down to my daughter, and the guilt and fear that I have been feeling. I chose to have my daughter fully aware of the risks. What was I thinking? Since the counseling, we have been talking more in our day-to-day life, and just honestly told him that my business was one of the stressors in my life, that I am always worried that if I didn't fix our marital issues and he wanted to leave me, it would change my career and future. Well, his wouldn't because he is a government employee. This was 2 weeks ago, the day after he sat me down and told me that he wanted a postnuptial agreement to make me feel more secure. He wanted me to be with him because I wanted to, not because I had to, he says. I talked in my first post about my house, etc., but I really don't care about that anymore. Everything else can be marital property, and honestly, I started to hate this house, and I can't wait to leave it. So my next move is starting the separation. I'm aiming for the end of this year, and then only the hardest part is left. Telling my daughter that mommy and daddy won't be living together anymore. I am not looking forward to that part. Then in the comments section, one user said, "I'm glad that you reached out to your father for help. It must have been so isolating that the 2 people you would have gone to for comfort are the 2 people who were causing you pain. Get the postnup done ASAP so you can move on. Once that's done, you can file for divorce." This isn't dubious at all, or it's less dubious than the activity he is engaged in. After all your ducks are in a row, you should break it to him in couples counseling that you are divorcing him, and what you saw. When he says sorry, you stand firm that he wasn't sorry that he stopped. He wasn't so sorry that it never started, not so sorry that at the lowest point in your life, he wouldn't betray you. You deserve better. I will do the best for my mental health and for our daughter. If leaving this behind and not telling him is the best way, then I will just leave it be. I will probably know by then what's best for me. Then OP elaborated on her relationship with her ex-best friend and said, "My ex-best friend and I had a falling out a while back because I don't talk to her anymore and because I've changed so much. She ended up telling me that I am going to lose everyone that loves me if I stayed that way. Whether they know or suspect something, I don't know. I think this is one of her excuses to herself about why she betrayed me like this, because I have changed and have been pushing away the people that love me, towards each other apparently, and honestly, what else can you tell yourself about your crappy behaviors to be able to sleep at night? Only I didn't start changing and pushing away people who love me before they betrayed me." And finally, one user asked OP if her ex-friend and her husband are still together and said, "They are still having an affair. I have seen the text messages that he gets from her at night. Not sure if they still feel like scum, but nothing has really changed." Okay, so I'm calm, I'm composed, I've recovered emotionally from the debilitating story about cheating so that I can commentate on the new debilitating story about cheating. Also, kudos to OP for sneaking that post-nup in there. I gotta give her credit for that. She was like, all right, my top two priorities, the daughter, the business. The house, I don't even care. I don't even want it. Burn it down, keep it, do whatever you want. I want those two things. And then the husband, keeping up his little facade, was like, "Of course, wife, anything for you. I'm so dedicated to you. Sign right here." And then OP was like, "Thank you. See you at the end of the year, because I'm about to divorce your ass." Anyway, good for her, and it seems like she's now on a better trajectory towards getting the things that she is passionate about and the things that she truly, really wanted. So, next story. Story number 3. My parents wouldn't give me a family ring so I could propose to my girlfriend because my sister isn't married yet. I just need to get this off my chest. My girlfriend's birthday is on Saturday, and I plan on proposing to her. Our anniversary is 6 months from Saturday, April 29th, and I think that would be a great day for a wedding. When my grandma died, she left all kinds of jewelry to my mom. She always said if I wanted one of her rings to give to a woman in the future, she would let me pick. I know my mom knows that she said this. I asked my mom for one of the rings, but my mom said, not yet. She and my dad said my sister will be upset if I get engaged while she is still single and not married. It's not a secret that she's desperate to get married, but that's not my problem. My sister turned 29 in March and I turned 31 last month. My parents said that she will be upset if I get married a month after her 30th birthday, so I went out today and bought a ring. It was never about money because I can afford to buy one. I thought it would be special to give my girlfriend a family ring. I'm still proposing on Saturday despite my parents forbidding me to. I'm just pissed off that they asked me to hold off until my sister is married, when she isn't even in a relationship. Pisses me off, but I don't want anything to spoil my girlfriend's birthday. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "For her 30th birthday, your parents can gift her therapy. I turned 30 back in August, never married. You know what happened? Nothing. The world doesn't end when you're still single at a certain age." Then user 2 commented and said, "It's not like you're 17. A month after she turns 30, does she own every month? Just wait until you start having kids or something before her. I get being sensitive to her feelings, but this is way over the top. I mean, they could let her pick a ring first and set it aside for the future." It sucks that they're going to be more worried about her feelings than excited for you. But then they'll wonder why you always spend holidays with the in-laws. Update number 1. 3 days later. I proposed on Saturday like I originally planned to. I proposed with the ring I bought after my parents denied me one of my grandmother's rings. I didn't do anything elaborate or public. I proposed over breakfast and she said yes. She called it the best birthday gift she's ever gotten. She had the same idea as me and had suggested we get married on April 29th, our 3rd anniversary, before I even brought it up. So that's what we are doing. We both agreed we don't want to do anything huge or expensive, so we're going to keep it small. It's 1:15 p.m. now, about 28 hours since I proposed. When we announced the news, my sister was upset just like I knew she would be, and my parents were mad I didn't listen to them. I am 31 and don't rely on my parents for money. I told my parents and sister that if they are unhappy, they can skip the wedding. It would suck if I didn't have any family there, but I also don't want them to spoil this. I wasn't planning on telling my fiance what went down, but I did once my sister started melting down, so she wouldn't be blindsided by any of it. She assured me she loves the ring and thinks my family is wrong. Her family had the exact opposite reaction as mine, and they are all happy for us. So, that's it. All is well. My fiance is currently at work, and it may sound stupid, but I miss her. She told me her coworkers are happy for her, and I know mine will be too when I go in later today. And also, thank you for all the supportive comments. Then in the comments section, OP elaborated on what happens to the ring if he got married first before his sister does, and would she get to keep those rings? No, because my parents said that if my sister was married, they would have let me pick one of the rings like my grandmother said I could. My parents said that if my sister was married, they would have honored my grandmother's wishes. Out of all of her jewelry, I would have only gotten one ring, and the rest would go to my sister. There are multiple boxes full of jewelry and multiple rings. She really liked jewelry. I didn't expect my parents to not honor her wishes, and especially over something I have no control over. Then one user in the comments section said, "Where is it written that if your sister's not happy, then nobody else can be either? Your parents spoiled the crap out of her. She'll never find happiness with that entitled attitude. Good on you for your response. Congratulations on the engagement and upcoming marriage. Your family can go suck it since you're creating a family of your own." Update number 2, 19 months later. My original post and the first update can be found in my comment history, but the gist of it is, my grandmother loved jewelry and always said I could have one of her rings for my future wife. When she passed away, she put it in her will that I was to be allowed to pick one out if I was getting engaged. The other hundreds of pieces of jewelry got left to my mom, to eventually be passed on to my sister. The rings I was supposed to pick from were not her engagement rings or any of the most expensive jewelry she had. In October of 2022, I asked my mom for a ring because I was going to propose to my then-girlfriend of 2.5 years, but my mom said I could not have one and my dad backed her up. It was because my sister would be upset that I was getting married first. My parents forbid me from proposing. I was 31 years old when this happened, and I live in a different province, so they had no grounds to forbid me from anything. My grandparents on both sides came to Canada from Scotland. There's nothing in either culture that says I am supposed to wait until his younger sister gets married first. I bought a ring and proposed to my wife on her birthday. My parents were angry I didn't listen to them. My sister had an absolute meltdown when she found out about my engagement. I had not told her in advance that I was going to propose because I knew she would react badly, even though she was 29 years old at the time. My wife and I got married 6 months after I proposed in April of 2023. It did suck not having any of my own family at my wedding, but I just focused on my wife instead. I went 18 months without speaking to my family, from a couple of weeks after I proposed until earlier this month. I guess my mom had a health scare, and even though she is fine, it got her and my dad worried enough to get back in touch a couple of weeks ago. My wife told me she would support me in whatever I decided. I told my parents we cannot go back to the way things were before, and I will not let them speak to my wife right now after the way they acted. My wife and I don't want kids, but if we did, I would keep my parents away from them too. They were surprised I got married without telling them. I said I'm an adult who doesn't need their permission. We are going to start with occasional emails for now and go from there. My parents said my sister is still upset that I'm married and she's not. She has never apologized for the way she carried on or the way she spoke about my wife. I have no plans to resume contact with her, and I told my parents to not bring it up. Again, thanks to those who left supportive comments in both of my posts. I forgot I had posted here until my wife said something that reminded me of it, and I had some messages asking for an update. Now here are some relevant comments. User 1 said, "Your sister is a nut job. Even if you lived in a culture where the elder gets married before the younger one, you are older than your sister, so that really wouldn't matter. I think your parents have enabled your sister's behavior, which has allowed her to continue acting this way, and possibly getting worse. She is miserable and wants everyone else to be too. And your parents should have put their foot down years ago. Maybe now seeing that you are not going to stop living your life because they ask you, they will change. You getting married has nothing to do with your sister. She being single has nothing to do with you. Just go live your life and be happy. That's the best revenge anyway." And finally, user 2 commented and said, "If it was willed to you, get a lawyer to force the parents to allow you to still choose the ring of your choice. It is your inheritance, and they have a fiduciary duty to obey the will." Okay, so first and foremost, fiduciary is always a fun word, but as for the story, therapy. But as for that last comment, I'm a little surprised OP didn't, get with a lawyer or try to enforce the will a bit more. But like he said, it's not about money. He could have afforded a ring either way. So maybe he just didn't feel like dealing with that or traveling or whatever and all that headache. The sister is a huge brat and is a terrible person and probably will not improve unless she gets into a relationship with an equally terrible person, and then they could just ruin lives together, right? Everywhere they go, things just get worse. They're like a black hole of terrible behavior, but they'll be romantically happy together, at least on the outside. But anyway, next story. Story number 4. Will I be the a-hole if I break up with my boyfriend when this year marks the 10th anniversary of the death of his wife? There is too much to say, but I'll try to make it short. I am using Google Translator for most of the things I say, so sorry. In short, I-34F have been dating Leon, 42M, for 2 years now. My uncle became friends with Leon when they started working together, and he started coming to family gatherings and birthdays. Leon is a great guy, and we get along instantly. My family always talked to me about Leon, saying he's a great guy. One day, Leon asked me out on a date, and I said yes, and we started dating. Leon has 2 children, 14M and 12M. His wife died in an accident 9 years ago. Here comes the problem. Leon always talks about his wife. I know it sounds ugly to complain about it, but I don't say it with jealousy, I mean it uncomfortably. He mentions her in intimate moments of our lives, such as when we're finishing having intimacy or when we're on a date. Sometimes he just starts telling me random anecdotes about his wife, and I just stay there feeling like I'm sleeping with a married man and I'm the side piece. I don't ask for much, just to have a date where it's just me and him. A date where I don't feel like someone's lover with a man who talks about the things we like. He goes to the psychologist, so according to him, he's working better on his grief, but I doubt it very much. I'm not the first girlfriend he had after his wife passed away. He still has contact with his wife's family, which is obvious since they are grandparents of his children, and I have met them in person only one time because all they did was tell me how much Leon and his wife loved each other and treat me really badly. I remember that they put a video with photos of Leon and his wife when they married, while I was just standing there because they didn't even give me a chair to sit. I think in their minds, it's cute to see me as just his boyfriend while he talks about his wife. I don't know, it's not cute, it's weird. He always says in front of me that she was the love of his life. I find it cute, but when I think about the future, I'm just like, I really want to get old with this man who is making it clear that he will never love me? Is this the kind of love I want? I want to be the only one for my future husband. One time, I took him to my favorite place and he just said, "It's beautiful, I wish my wife was here so we could show her this. You two would have been good friends." It's like being a third wheel in my own relationship. I can tell a lot of stories of situations like these. A lot. We talked about this. Most of the times, he just says things that he does without thinking, but then he seems to forget about it and goes back to his usual behavior, and I'm tired. The only time I spoke about this with my family, I was only told that a real woman wouldn't be jealous of a dead woman. I'm not jealous, I'm uncomfortable. And also, I should be happy to be with a man who has loved another woman like that, except him to love me almost the same. That I shouldn't expect him to love me in the same way, since all love is different, and that I shouldn't just be empathetic and supportive of him. I listened to them, but nothing got better. I've been feeling so much pressure to go through with this that I can't take it anymore. Anyways, I stopped listening to my family and finally spoke with my friend who's a psychologist and told me that his behavior is not healthy for anyone and that I should think for myself. My friend, she texted me, "Good for him for loving his wife so much, but you don't deserve to be used as an emotional support doll." And she's right. I have decided to cut off the relationship. But this year marks 10 years since the death of his wife. And not only his family, but my family is helping them to host a family reunion in honor of her with the things that she likes. I think it's a nice thing to do, but I'm totally ready to end the relationship. But I'm afraid I'm the bad guy in the story. The 10th anniversary is in July. I want to end the relationship now, but I fear that I will be a POS if I do that in the year when he's so vulnerable, and even when my family is pushing me to act like if I was his wife's best friend. He even says that his wife and I would be good friends if we met. Why would you want your wife to be best friends with the woman you're sleeping with right now? It's too weird. I think I'm insane because everyone around me sees it as something cute. In short, I don't know if I should break up with him right now or wait until, I don't know, next year. Would I be a POS if I broke up with him now? Edit. He goes to therapy and has even taken me many times to his wife's grave until I asked him not to take me anymore because I don't feel comfortable. I know he goes to visit her grave a lot. Yes, I think my family acts that weird because my brother goes through the same situations with his wife, and they think I want the same thing. Then in the comments section, one user said, "OP, did you ask him why that relationship ended?" He told me it was because his ex-girlfriend hated when he talked about his wife and didn't respect her memory. At the time, I believed him, but now I think that girl maybe was feeling like me. He once told me that he mistakenly called his ex by his wife's name. Update. I've been messaged by a few people who have lived through the same situation as me, and that has helped me understand. I finally spoke with all my friends about everything he did. I always avoided doing that because I knew they were going to tell me that I should leave him, but I just ended up being trapped by everyone else's words. We didn't love each other, and that's obvious, even if he says he doesn't think so. I don't know how bad this is, but I needed to know that I was doing the right things and that I'm not crazy before I said the truth to my friends. The next day, I finally talked to Leon, and I really needed to break up at that point. He came to see me at my house, and I told him we needed to talk. I went straight to the point saying I wanted to end the relationship, and he instantly asked me what he did wrong. We literally had this talk before, and he does know what things make me feel uncomfortable. I was tired, so I just proceeded to list everything he did. How he never defended me from his ex-in-laws, how he never made an effort to stop naming his wife all the time, even though I told him 1,000 times that it made me uncomfortable. How does he make me feel like I'm the third in my own relationship, etc.? He apologized, saying the same things as always, that he doesn't realize it when he does that. We've had this discussion before many times, but this time I told him I want to break up. I also told him that I don't think his therapist is helping, but Leon just said that he is helping, and that he feels mentally well. Leon told me that we could start going together to his therapist because he knows that it can be hard for women to be with a widower. Jealousy is a normal thing in this kind of case, and that really triggered me. I've let both his family and my family make me believe that I am a crazy, jealous woman. I've even let blogs about widower couples fill my head with things like, you just have to be empathetic, don't expect him to love you. He's always going to love his first wife more, so just get used to it and be a good woman. I've let myself be trampled on just because everyone told me that getting over a loss is difficult, and I have to be empathetic and think about the other person. I am so damn tired of it. I'm tired of being empathetic. I've been dragging this thought for months, and in that moment, I just burst out. We yelled at each other, and we said a lot of things to each other, but at the end of it, all he went on about was his mentality that I'm wrong and I'm just jealous. He said that I clearly don't feel ready to date a widower, and I ended up being like his ex. I told him that he's an effing hypocrite, that he filled his mouth talking crap about his ex-girlfriend, but now I'm sure that he treated her like he treated me. He probably took a submissive woman to fulfill the void and took us as sex dolls. None of that echoed in his mind because he left my house, saying I'm just jealous of a ghost and I disappointed him. I am fed up. I'm so angry while I write this. As soon as he left the house, I sent my mother a message saying that I'm not going to live the same life of my sister-in-law, living in the shadow of a woman who's no longer in this world, and they should have empathy for me and not for a man who's not even in their family. I told her that I'm tired of being pressured and I don't care if I die single. I'm sure they don't care about how I feel in the end anyway, and they will keep saying that I have a cold heart, like always, but I want to not care about that anymore. My friends are staying at my house to keep me company, and I can finally get all the accumulated crap out of my brain with them. I don't feel good being second, and I know I always will be second. I don't want to replace the place of the first wife, and I know that even if I wanted to, I never will. I know a lot of people feel good with that kind of relationship, but not me. Maybe I'm really cold-hearted, but I'm surely not that empathetic. If his wife were alive, he would clearly never choose me. He wouldn't even look at me. I don't like that kind of love, and I have a really hard time accepting that I don't want that kind of love for myself. I feel that I am still young, and I can wait for a man to have me as the first choice in his heart. I hope Leon can overcome his traumas and be happy, but not with me. Someone messaged me that I don't deserve his love, but what love are we talking about? I'm just a sex doll at this point. For now, he's not going to change, and he doesn't want to change, but that's not my business. I'm not a bedroom therapist anymore. I would rather be single forever than falling in love again like that. I want to start more therapy and Pilates. I'm still obviously affected by all of this, and nothing really changed. Nothing would change that fast, but I'm just happy that I'm free now. For now, I just wanted to vent, so sorry if everything sounds too aggressive. Okay, so I don't want to take away from anybody from the prior stories and stuff like that, but I am so happy for OP because she actually did the damn thing. She realized, like, oh my goodness, I'm in a terrible position and I want to get out. And everyone's like, no, stay. And gaslight time. And OP was like, you can't gaslight me, like John Cena, but with gaslighting. And then she left the relationship and she said, you know what? I got to focus on me. And she made that really good point that her family, at least to her viewpoint, doesn't really care about her. So why does it matter what she does? Either she's miserable and they don't care about her, or she's happy and they don't care about her. Again, I'm not dogging on anybody like the first story, for example, but OP actually did it, and OP got out, and I'm so happy to see that sometimes when we read these stories, instead of just the perpetual cycle or being stuck in it, which it's tough for people to get out, but OP did, and I'm so happy. But anyway, guys, we are at the end of the video. I'm gonna go to Six Flags. You can come if you want. I got plenty of room in the car, but if you're not, well, thank you for watching the video. I hope you enjoy the rest of your day, and I have one more thing to say. Bye!